I'm just starting. I'm recording this now. So yes, SAP V1 and any kind of enterprise solutions are very cumbersome. They're very costly. They're very complicated, and they're difficult to customize. Okay, so I would put SAP V1 as kind of a traditional development or a low-code development. I'll explain what I mean by this, right? So in the 1990s, 20, 30 years ago, if you were a business and if you're a large business, you would have a huge IT team, and that IT team would build a product, an automation product for you from scratch. So you would use a lot of resources, you would spend a lot of money, you would use a bunch of tools, and it would take you years and years and years to get it to market. In fact, a lot of banks still use tools that were made maybe 20, 30 years ago. After that, we ended up in the era of the mid 2000s, where we moved to something called low code. Now, Salesforce is a fantastic example of what we call low code. And one of Siddharth's first jobs ever was implementing Salesforce for various companies across the US, multi-million-dollar deals. Salesforce did not require too much coding. It just required a little bit of coding, and it required a lot of customization. But it still required a good amount of money. It was still expensive. It required a lot of skills, and it took some time. Now what's happening is we are moving into the realm of no code, where in order to streamline your processes, you don't require any coding at all. So the amount of resources that you need, the number of people you need, the amount of skill that you need, the cost and the time is significantly reduced. And because the cost and time is significantly reduced, you're able to keep trying new things, and you're able to constantly experiment with different tools, with different processes. So I think I now need to answer the basic question: what is no code and what are the benefits of no code? We are going to go deep into the different applications of no code in a bit, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of background first. So no codes are basically platforms which allow users to create applications using visual development, or what you would call drag and drop, right? Anybody who has used a computer knows what drag and drop is. And I'm going to show you a 10-20-second example of something like this. This is an app called Adalo, and you can use this platform to create any kind of app you want. Here you can see this person is just dragging and dropping. They're filling out different fields, and they made this beautiful app. I've used this platform before, Adalo, to make some different applications, and it's very easy. And any of you can do it as well. Okay, and the basic benefits are: it is cheaper, it is quicker to build and deploy, and it is extremely customizable. These are the major benefits of no-code tools. You might be thinking that, okay, there might be no-code tools for specific applications, but there will be no tool that will be for me, right? All I care about is I want to save money, and I want to make more money. So how are no-code tools going to help me with my sales and marketing? How are no-code tools going to make me more efficient? What this screen shows you is that just in web development, there are more than 225 different no-code tools. And there are no-code tools across a variety of different applications. A lot of you in the registration form mentioned that you want help with onboarding. A lot of you mentioned you want help with automating your sales and marketing. And a lot of you people mentioned also CRM. So you can see over here that there are umpteen number of no-code tools that you can use in order to automate all of these processes. So one more thing that I want to mention over here before I move to the next slide is that this slide to me clearly shows that there is a huge disruption happening right now. There is a lot of venture-backed money that is flowing into this space. And that means that we are currently at the cusp of this change. Earlier, small businesses, SME businesses, if they wanted to implement something, they would have to pay a lot of money. Now that's no longer true. You don't have to be a big company with economies of scale in order to implement a software. Anybody can do it. We thought the best way to show you all of these applications was by going through some personal use cases. Before we go into these personal use cases, I just want to highlight one small thing. When you're implementing a software for your business use case, you have two options. You can go down the route of SAP, where you do everything in one application, where inventory tracking is happening in one application, your production tracking is happening there, your CRM tracking is happening there, everything is happening there. Or the other option, which no code allows you, is you can use many different applications and you can merge them together with one overall application. And we'll show you how to do that with these use cases. I'll ask Siddharth to now take over and to talk about it. Siddharth?
Yep. Thanks, Sahil. So, as Sahil mentioned, I don't know how to code. I've never written a line of code, but I've always been working with people in the business and people in technology and trying to build applications. And I've always felt handcuffed because I never knew how to code. So I could never change these products or make new products till I saw what no code was all about. I went into this space 2019, early 2020, and I was fascinated by the possibilities. And over the last year and a half, I've actually used no code tools across different problem statements to solve things for myself or for my friends and family. And these are use cases that I have personally used or Sahil has used in order to solve problems. Let's start at the very basic company website. Every business needs a website. The old way of building websites was about hiring a freelancer, getting an agency, getting frustrated with them not doing the proper work, paying them a lot of money, and then not being able to maintain the website because you don't know how to code. That was the past. The present and the future of website development is all no code. There are platforms like Softer, Webflow, Wix, Bubble, as Sahil said, 225 different tools that help you build a website using drag and drop. You might be thinking these might be very basic websites, but these could be basic to complicated across the entire spectrum, all on no code. Our website, the Indian Dream website, actually was built on no code. We built this in less than 20 hours, and we're just going to give you a glimpse of what this is. We built this in less than 20 hours, and we pay $120 a year to maintain this entire thing. We have about 100 different pages on the website. So all the content that we do in terms of podcasts, newsletters, videos, all of that goes onto this website as a separate page. One page takes less than 5 minutes to create. All of this is on no code. As we said, we don't know how to code, so we couldn't have built a website. Let's complicate this a little further. A lot of you asked about project and task management, right? Operations, project tracking, stuff like that. That's a common problem across different businesses. As you scale, as more people join your team, sometimes you get overwhelmed with managing everything. The older way of doing this was project management tools that were one, expensive, and came with an opinion, which is basically, this is how my tool is. You need to change your systems and processes to actually meet my requirements so that you can use my tool. Now, all of you are entrepreneurs and you know how difficult it is to change habits, to change human habits, right? What no code has enabled is you can now build project and task management systems that are unique to you. Notion, ClickUp, these are some tools that basically give you like Lego pieces that you can put together to make it work for you. The entire thing that we do with the Indian Dream, we do 4 types of content every single week. So there's a lot of work. A team of 5 people, all of us collaborate using Notion. Everything that we do is on Notion, right? All our episodes, everything that we do is on Notion. When we click on something, all the information about that particular episode, their links, everything about that episode is in one place. 5 of us meet for 30 minutes every single day at 2 p.m. just to talk about what's happening, track all our tasks, and then go about doing our business. That's all we interact, right? And we were able to do this because of Notion. Let's complicate it even further. Project and task management, again, one of those things that can be solved for using some decent systems. Where it gets really challenging is custom business applications, right? Everybody tracks their production differently, everybody tracks their inventory differently, they have different business workflows that need to be automated. Every business is unique. There are now business applications that help you build internal apps. These could be desktop or mobile in hours, right? That's what we're talking about. I actually did this in an apparel manufacturing company. My brother-in-law runs one, and I actually implemented a system. But before we go there, You can track production data, inventory, CRM, and bunch of other applications can be built on products like Grid, Kintone, AppSheet, and many, many more. For the production tracking data in apparel manufacturing, my brother-in-law ran a very traditional sort of setup where everything was manual, everything was on paper. Every 15 days, there used to be chaos on miscommunication, a paper going missing, all of those things. I've been helping him over the last 2 weeks, 2 months, to implement a system um, where his production level data or inventory level data can be tracked on employee mobile phones. So every employee has this app where they go in at the end of the day, they put in all the numbers, and he gets an automated report beginning of every day on what happened the previous day. All of this, again, no code, built in a couple of weeks. Now, customer relationship management is a subject dear to my heart. This is where I started my career, spent 4 or 5 years just implementing Salesforce.com and CRMs. Um, I've seen it firsthand. As I mentioned, it was low code, and that was a big change for enterprises because they could now customize it. But we are now moving to the next realm, which is completely no code, where you can now build customer relationship management softwares, lightweight to full blown. Everything that you want to do can be built on Actio, Insightly, and a bunch of other tools. CRM is unique to every company, and it makes sense that it can be customized for a particular company. Let's move on to some more complicated examples. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I wanted to share this personal story here. Chatbots are a way to engage with your customers, your leads, any customer queries, right? You see this pop up every time you go to a website. Now, in the older days, there used to be a human behind them, which is significant cost, not affordable to SME, so you would never use it. But now all of that can be automated, where you can write business rules in the background which say that if a customer has X problem, show them by document. I actually did this at a large Series B startup where they had hundreds and thousands of users, and one of the problems that they were facing was a lot of customer support tickets. We implemented this chatbot in Indonesian language, by the way, so it's also available in vernacular language. We implemented in Indonesian language, and within a couple of months, 30 to 40% of the customer support tickets were reduced because the chatbot was taking care of them. One more sort of, this is utopia, and a lot of people mentioned this, sales and marketing. It's every SME owner's dream is the sales and marketing is automated. When you're sleeping, you're getting new orders, you're able to convert leads, you're showing off your brand to different places, all while sleeping. With online sales and marketing, that's actually possible now. There are tools like Outgrow. Outgrow is a lead magnet tool where you can put in white papers. This is especially true for B2B setting, where you can put white papers and surveys and other kinds of ebooks, and capture email addresses. You can then send this email to MailChimp for drip marketing campaign, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I also want to talk about scrapers. Scrapers is a way to scroll the internet and automatically collect data. Earlier used to be heavy coding scripts that you had to write to actually scrape data. That is now automated. So think about, if you're a recruitment agency, you want to figure out what, all the companies that are hiring for front end engineers. You could write a no code you could build a no code tool that could actually collect the data from the internet on everybody hiring for front end engineers and send it to MailChimp. Sahil, do you want to share your personal example of how you've used MailChimp in your business?
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of the people here who are into B2B businesses. And one thing that I have realized also in a B2B business is that, sorry, just a second. Yeah. One thing that I've also realized is when you have to nurture a B2B lead, um, it takes time. It takes time to build that trust with that B2B lead. So, for example, if you get a new lead and the new lead enters your CRM system, you can automate it such that MailChimp automatically sends them an intro email first. And then every week, it then sends just a hello or just some information that this is what we do and these are the problems that we solve. And then once you've sent maybe 4 or 5 emails, then it says like, hey, can we get on a call? And it gives you a link. Then you click on that link. It goes to an automatic calendar app where you can make a calendar, where you can automatically make a meeting with the salesperson. So nowhere in the system are you actually involved. The whole thing is automated until the actual meeting. So that means your lead is also validated because they know exactly the kind of company that they're talking to, because nobody also wants to waste their time. Okay, Siddharth,
Maybe,
back to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'll have to change the spotlight. Maybe in 10 years, we'll have robots to take these meetings also. That would be an interesting times to live in. But one thing that I want to mention now, going back to Sahil's point initially about taking one big tool that does everything versus doing a bunch of smaller tools. I will not deny bunch of smaller tools can be difficult to work with because information is at different places. But this is where a company called Zapier comes in. It's a $5 billion company. They, I think, raised $100,000, a very minimal amount to build this large business. They do about $140 million in recurring revenue, and all they do is help different software on the internet talk to each other, right? So Slack can talk to Google Excel, your Microsoft Teams can talk to Google Sheets, it can talk to Salesforce. All kinds of different applications can now be connected to each other. What we are seeing on screen right now is Google Calendar integrations. Now think about how simple Google Calendar is. There are 3,000 plus apps that you can actually integrate with Google Calendar, and Zapier keeps innovating, keeps adding new products. So most of the products that you're using on the internet, SaaS products at least, can be connected in one way or form, and then you can slowly and surely build a system that talks to each other, works for you, right? We're going to talk about what it takes to make that happen and all of that. But before that, one last thing, and I know we went from complicated to extra complicated, but bringing it back, a very simple thing that no code can do. Sahil and I keep coming up with random ideas, and one of the things that we are always curious about is there demand for it or not. So here's what we do: we go to Card. It's a builder, it's a landing page builder. So one page websites can be built on Card. Beautiful looking websites can be built. You build it, you run Google ads on it, and you track if there is enough demand on it, right? One example that you'll see right now is an app that I was trying to see if there was demand, was shoppable catalogs, right? A lot of B2B manufacturers want shoppable catalogs. I built this website in less than 30 minutes, this entire thing, where I could now capture email addresses that were connected to MailChimp, again, as Sahil said, that could send them automated email. All of this in 30 minutes to test out ideas. This is just one use case. Sahil has also used it to build a custom landing page for a business exhibition that he was going at. So multiple use cases can be solved by just doing these beautiful one-page websites. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with too many use cases. The time is not enough to go deep into use cases, but we wanted to give you a glimpse of what's possible, right? The possibilities. And if you're overwhelmed and you're thinking, okay, I get it, but how do I really get started? Sahil, do you want to take over and tell us how should somebody get started on no code?
Yeah, just a second. I'm changing the spotlight. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've just barely scratched the surface. There are many. If anybody messages us and says that, hey, you missed out on this tool, this tool, this tool, we know that. But we didn't want to put too many options out there as well. So these are the options that you can work with. And how do I get started? In our opinion, and this is actually a question that we asked the entire group as well, how process oriented is your business? The average reply was 5.8. So that means kind of process oriented, but not too much. And in my opinion, I would say that the most important thing is that you need to map your internal processes and you need to be process oriented in order to use a technological solution. I will give an example of my own business. I found that the sales team it was just scattered everywhere. All of the information was in random places, and they were sending quotes randomly, and there was no check and balance. So I thought, okay, let me implement Salesforce, and I spoke to multiple vendors. I went to the last stage before actually going and implementing Salesforce. That's when I realized that it is a very bad idea to implement Salesforce to solve this issue, because, for example, these guys were not making the quotations within the system that already exists. They were doing it on Excel sheets because that's what they were comfortable with. Now, if I implemented Salesforce, they would have still done it. So instead, what I decided to do is spend 6 months on orienting the sales team towards more processes, building a strong process, mapping that process, and then finding those gaps in the process the small steps where it would be best to start with automation. So that's what I have decided to do with my own sales team. So that would be the first step in our opinion. The second step would be researching the various tools that are available. There are certain resources. One of them is called MakerPad. It's a very good resource to find different no-code tools. The next step, and this is where no-code really shines, you have many options on how you want to implement. You can do it yourself, DIY. You can delegate it to your team because your team will not be IT professionals, but they will be smart enough to understand how to use these tools, hopefully. Or you can hire people from Fiverr or Upwork or stuff like that, because these are freelance websites. Okay, you get somebody, you've chosen your tool, you've gotten somebody, and now you're trying to make the perfect tool to solve all of your issues. And I would say stop right there. Perfection is the enemy of progress. The great thing about these tools is that they can you can build and launch so fast. You can constantly make changes. So you can enter the launch, iterate, and build cycle where you're constantly making your processes better. Another example for my own business is that we hired somebody specifically to look at our processes to make sure that our processes are constantly improving. His only job pretty much is to look at processes and to make them better, see if that improved it, and if not, then to iterate and make it better again. Okay, so that's how you get started. Just a couple of things to keep in mind before you go out and you're like, oh my God, I love no-code tools. I'm going to implement every single thing I find on the internet. Before you do that, just a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, it's a steep learning curve. Now you're probably thinking, why the hell will code ever have an opinion, right? What we mean by having an opinion is that earlier when you had an application, there was a certain way you had to use that application, right? If you had Microsoft Word was telling you you have to type it in this way, you have to bold it in this way, you have to make a document like this. What is happening now is because customizability is becoming more important, and therefore these applications are coming without opinion. They're not telling you how to do it. They're telling you you can do it however you want. So for example, there are two specific applications, Notion and Webflow, which are extremely customizable. But because they're so customizable, there is a steep learning curve on how to learn it. Siddharth has learned how to use Notion very well, and that goes right into the next point. It is a long-term investment. If you go through that learning curve, if you learn how to use that tool, it is something that you can use for the rest of your life. Because, for example, Siddharth single-handedly made all of those different pages where we conduct our entire business. I think we can call ourselves a business, because he knew that software so well. Lastly, because these tools are relatively new, there's not a lot of guidance online. If you have a problem with Microsoft Word, you can just Google, or Microsoft Excel. I don't know how to use this formula. You can Google it, you'll find it in 2 seconds. But for example, when I was making this website for the Indian Dream, I had a bunch of questions, I had a bunch of problems, but I was not able to find the solution. In the end, I emailed the actual founders who made that application, and they helped me. They were very nice. So yeah, this is just a brief look at all the tools that are available. We've talked about some of them. We have not talked about a lot of them. One of the main ones I want to kind of highlight that we didn't talk about, Zoho. Zoho is an Indian company that is doing excellent. It is one of the top no-code companies right now. They also make an excellent CRM software. And now Siddharth and I are of the opinion that a lot of the problems that SMEs today are facing can be solved with technology. We have helped some family and friends, and Siddharth is about to put in the chat a form that if you're interested in talking to us more, you can fill out that form, because we barely scratch the surface, because we can't do it in half an hour. We can't do it in an hour. It'll take a lot more time. So if you're interested in learning more, if you want to maybe do a course about this, we can build that, and we can chat and we can take it forward. Okay. This has been a lot of talking. Now maybe it would be great to hear what you guys have to say. Are there any questions? This was a lot of information to take in. Need 1 hour for Notion. Yeah, we can definitely do that. But this was a lot of information to take in a short amount of time. I'm sure there are a lot of questions. Please let me know. You can unmute yourself. You can ask it, or you can ask it in the chat. Siddharth, let's start out with one question that Mr. Ram asked. Sahil and Siddharth, I would be interested in discussing your views on the commonalities and differences between SaaS, PaaS, and no-code platforms tools during the Q&A.
Sure. I don't know if a lot of people will understand the difference between SaaS, PaaS, and no code. I'm going to take a high level stab at it from a business perspective. SaaS is what Sahil was talking about, came with an opinion, right? It came with the idea that this is the software and this is how you use it. PaaS is taking one step further, going towards low code, where you say this is the flexible sort of platform with the basic applications, and you can now code different stuff on this platform to make it work for you. That was the next evolution. And no code is where there's no coding. There is no coding. Sorry, you have to change the spotlight. Sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. So no code is where there's no coding at all. It comes with a completely blank slate and you design it the way you want. I think similar. These are the differences. The commonalities, I think, is the fact that almost all of them are now on the cloud and fairly accessible in terms of cost, because it's not high capex, it's opex, because it's monthly subscription or yearly subscription.
So this is a question from Abhinav Thakur. What are the costs involved?
Yeah, I'll take that before I take Mansi's question. Costs involved can range from $5 per user in some cases up to 20, 30, 40, $50 per user, depending on the app, right? Because the landscape that we're talking about is so vast. It really depends on the kind of problem that you're trying to solve.
Just a couple of examples. Our website that we built, that we showed you, we pay $120 per year. Notion, which Siddharth has a subscription to, he pays $9 per month. What else did we talk about? Spotify.
Great. Actually, Shopify is $29 a month to build an e-commerce website.
Yeah, that's also what I've used.
Yeah. The business application one that we were talking about is actually 7,500 for 150 people in your organization, 7,500 rupees, because it's an Indian company. For 150 people in the organization, it's extremely cheap. It will work out more economical than a CRM if you're considering Salesforce, for sure. Salesforce is exorbitantly expensive, but there are cheaper solutions, cheaper CRM solutions, where I would still say check those out. And if those meet your needs 80 to 90% when it comes to CRM requirements, go with an existing solution. CRM is the toughest nut to crack in no code, because you need to think about a bunch of different things, customer, account managers, and all of those things. And it helps to use a tool that has some opinion on this.
Yeah,
that's on the CRM front. How is Zoho Creator? We're considering it to build a delivery app. Zoho Creator is absolutely fantastic. I love everything that Zoho does. The delivery app, if it's an internal delivery app for your internal business, sort of internal processes, I think you can do it. If it's external, probably not. I'll have to understand the use case a little better, but yeah.
Mr. Ram, do you have a question?
Yeah, Sahil and Siddharth. It's actually a follow-on, question on this whole, no opinion, kind of piece, right? So it's been our experience, we are on this side as well. We are actually trying to create, no-code tools in certain domains, and we've been in that, doing that and progressing, I would say, in fits and starts. And so one of the things that we have experienced is that sometimes when you actually give a completely clean slate, right, it's actually maybe counterproductive. That's what we have seen. So we started out in the in the domain of sales incentive and management, especially for mid to large companies, which have mid to large size sales forces and a lot of variable incentives, right? And typically these are all, as you said, done on Excel sheets, even in very, very large organizations, which are paying hundreds of crores in commissions and incentives. So we gave them, our first version of the product was actually an on-prem product, which allowed them to literally without no code. I mean, once we set it up, of course, with the integrations with their data sources and so on, the actual creation of the incentive schemes, even very, very complex incentive schemes like they run in the insurance industry, could be done no code, right? But what we found was the ability of people, when you actually give that kind of a drawing board, so to say, itself probably becomes restrictive. So sometimes maybe you actually need to have a strong opinion. So we are actually in the process of transforming our platform into a slightly more opinionated platform at one level, but providing a lot of flexibility at another level, right? So I think hear your thoughts on that. Yeah,
I think it completely depends on the vertical, right? When it comes to sales incentives, when it comes to CRM, there is a certain way of doing things the right way, and you want to sort of get the best practices in. You can either do it through an opinion on the software, which is this is how it comes out of the box and this is how you need to use it, or you can do it with templates, which is what a lot of no-code platforms do. Is here's a blank slate, but here are also some templates that you could potentially use. For project and task management, I like to approach it with a blank slate so that it can, I can customize it anyhow. For CRM, I'm not so sure about a no-code solution out there today, right? So I think it completely depends on verticals.
Yeah. So there's another question on Abhinav Thakur.
Yeah.
Can ERP be done on no code? How is the pricing compared to Tally?
ERP can be done on no code. I think there is a platform called ERP1 and a bunch of others. Even in the I think screenshot that we had, I don't think it can compare price wise to Tally. I think Tally is obviously homegrown, extremely sort of affordable to use. It might not compare price wise, but it will compare flexibility wise. I think it'll give you a lot more customization, a lot more flexibility. So if Tally doesn't work for you in what they give you, you might want to look at no code. Again, but the thing is, if you're going to go build out ERP directly on no code, back to Sahil's point on start small, start with single steps on functions that you can automate, and then try to bring it all back together.
Yeah. Any other questions? Uh,
100%. HRMS, yes. It's an easy use case. Do we have no-code plugins for Tally? Not that I know of, Amit.
Okay, Ankit, can you unmute yourself? You'd like to...
See, I implemented my ERP in the year 2016, and it took me a year for me to implement.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of things that I learned, and what I have seen across is I have seen live ERP deployments fail and fail very badly, where money is being spent from the tune of 20 lakhs to 4 crores within very, very close periphery of mine. And the biggest problem throughout is the entrepreneurs want to release the PO without knowing what they want. So they feel that ERP or a CRM is a magic wand that is going to make your entire business be, a no paperless kind of a thing, and make it wonderful with all sorts of reporting and all. What they tend to forget is their processes and systems are broken at the moment. ERP, what it does is, it is like standardizing your Excel files. That one guy who has an Excel file would have the same link of Excel files throughout the document flow, which people don't have. The moment you do that, the moment you have your systems and processes in place, 90% of the job of the software is done, because that will ensure that people don't go out of the software to do their work, be it quotations, be it orders, be it processing. Like I created this simple code, not a simple code. It took me about close to about 8 days to write this code, where what happened was, if my sale order is created and if it meets certain criteria, be it discounts, be it credit limits, be it salesman credit limits, or I have a plethora of conditions, and if they pass through all of them, the invoices generate automatically. So my entire accounts team was down with COVID, but I did not face a single issue on the invoice generation front. So what I mean to say is, there are a couple of things that we as entrepreneurs need to understand. Is first, keep our process and systems clean and well defined. Two, it is not a magic wand. That you move it on top of your system and your company, and it's all Nirma ki Safedi kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Completely
then
agree with you.
your organization needs to have that culture that they are not going to use uh, Word, Excel. They only use the company's mail ID. They only use the company's mobile number. So that culture will have to be developed over a period of time, which again takes time.
Yeah.
I could very well relate with Sahil when he said that, SAP was one of the biggest issues. See, the problem with SAP is it is very tight on systems and processes, and we as Indian entrepreneurs tend to flout them a lot. Say
Yeah.
we've created a system without payment, you cannot dispatch the goods. But what really happens is if a guy sends you an UTR number, even if it does not show it on your system, you tend to leave it. You say, okay, dispatch it, I've got the UTR number. SAP will not
Yeah.
allow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. So till we realize that no software could help, be it code or no code.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's point very well taken. I've seen multiple implementations fail because of that culture, process driven organizations. That's the foundation of putting in any kind of tech solution, be it code, no code, any kind of tech solution, right? And that's what something that we want to go deeper on. We've been helping some friends and family to talk about like how to set these processes and how to build this culture. And that's why we were curious if there are more people interested, we might build something.
Okay, we have another question from Praful Shardul. Can we use this for real-time monitoring of services and technical system operations, ELV, HVAC, and etc.?
Yeah, so this is not completely no code. This is where you'll have to get into some sort of IoT devices that can capture the data from these systems and then feed it into a no code platform. That's how you can do it. Slightly more complicated, but yes, it's doable.
Okay, Mr. Jayesh has a question.
Just as
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've been president of All India Plastic Manufacturing Association. We have about 15,000 members across India. And I love what I hear. What I hear here is that it's much easier to make your own software, own small softwares, internal labs, etc. Is it possible to have a regular workshop? For example, you can say, okay, we meet Saturday 10 to 12 and we'll work on production, uh, no code software.
Yeah.
And if people from one sector like get together and they all help each other and something evolves in 3 or 4 Saturdays, do you think that kind of thing would work great here?
We've actually, that's exactly what we're thinking, Jesh, to add on to that. That's what we've done with some of our friends and family is over the last 2-3 months, we've just been getting on a call on weekends to talk about the different kinds of platforms and share more knowledge. What we're thinking. I think SME entrepreneurs, one, getting together. The idea is not that, people will come in and actually develop a software for you. Gone are those days. That doesn't work. Everybody has failed at that because business and IT, business services people don't sort of collaborate, right? The idea is to give you all the knowledge so that you can build it internally. People in your business know your business the best, right? That's at the end of the day. And we could potentially do something which is 8 weeks, on weekends.
So if you can just send us your phone number and email address, we can speak further on this.
Second thing,
Okay.
most of the shop floor workers in our industry are experts and champion in one software, WhatsApp. They're spending their life on WhatsApp. If there is a way we can, sort of interface with WhatsApp where they can capture the data on WhatsApp or they send the data on the WhatsApp and then it enters into the system, etc. Is there a way to do this?
100%.
Yeah, I have seen a few applications doing this.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So I'm game. I would be happy to, collect a good group of whatever, 10, 15, 20, whatever number you think is manageable. I can, spread the word around, collect enough people in the room, and we can start having something focused on, for example, injection molding. So people who are doing injection molding or blow molding, the requirements are very similar to each other. So sometimes one of them would be very good in one thing. One would have a experience in IoT, other one would have experience in SAP, and somehow everybody together can work out. And instead of total blank slate, they'll be able to help each other and arrive at a common minimum solution, and then everybody can tweak it to their liking.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
So what I've done is I have put our form again in the chat. So because people are saying I would love to get together and stuff like that, we'd love to take this further. So I've put the form in the chat.
I
And
already filled the form, send it to earlier.
Okay,
Perfect.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So whoever
because
else,
we might miss the chat. It'll be great if you can just fill out the form.
Yeah, already filled the form, already send it to you when you put it first time.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Thank you
So
so
there
much.
were no remarks, so you'll have to just remember Jay Shramya, then you can
yeah, for sure.
Abhinav Thakur has another question. We are on Tally. We are unable to decide if you should stay on Tally or move to ERP. What criteria do you suggest to make a decision? I think maybe this is a topic
slightly,
that we can take.
Slightly longer conversation. We'll have to talk offline.
So Abhinav,
if I can just butt in on that, silence that we actually went through that ourselves last couple of months, and we've actually switched to Zoho Books. We are just in the process of getting it live, and I think if you look at the it's kind of it does the same functions, but it does it in a very, very different way, right? And so I would strongly recommend community here to actually look at Zoho Books if they want some alternatives to Tally.
Yeah, and just to add, what Zoho gives you is it comes with an opinion. So there is some software already built out that you can start using, but it also comes with Zoho Creator, so you can create your own business applications. So that is actually a perfect platform that people can look at to build all kinds of business functions on it.
And it's very cheap. Mr. Gupta has a question.
Yeah. Hi, that's me. So my question is, I'm from the logistics industry. And what we've seen over the years is that the available ERPs that are there, they are not up to the mark. A lot of them are actually legacy softwares, and the owners don't want to upgrade the software because there is a cost attached to it. And in logistics is a very broad term, very, very wide term. In logistics, there are a lot of verticals, and in each of these verticals, there are sections and sub-segments basically, where there are a lot of complexities in the capture of transactions. Would no code be able to give me that level of, I'm not getting the right term, but the level of, the transactions need to be captured in a lot of minute detail. Like if you talk about, allow me to share an example where, let's say we talk about packages. So what are the number of packages? What is the kind of the package? Whether those packages are palletized, they're non-palletized, whether the pallet contains wood, it does not contain wood, whether those pallets need to be treated before it is loaded for a particular country. So there are a lot of, what do you say, conditional fields, a lot of hide and seek fields or things like that. So would a no code really help me to create something like that in an ERP if I were to decide to do it?
The short answer is yes. As long as the transactions are not being captured automatically somewhere, I think that is where. So if they're manual, no code can solve for all of this.
Oh, wow.
So app sheets, I'm going to give you some examples. We'll share it, share the presentation and a link to a website page which has all this information. Okay. App sheet, Kintone, Grid are made to actually capture a lot of this information in as much detail as you want, right? I'm assuming without a software, it's being captured on Excel today. I'm assuming that or existing legacy software.
It's a legacy software.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically database tables that can be replicated on no code. Completely can be done in as much level of detail.
Even if they are conditional, for example, on condition you drop.
Exactly.
And also because a lot of people are using their phones nowadays, you can use, there are certain software like Glide and Adalo, which you can connect to Google Sheets, and then these people they can just fill out the information on the app on the phone, and it automatically updates the Google Sheets, and with that conditional statements you can then get it to do other things.
So I just have a follow-up question because it's a very important question. What we use a lot of grids basically. Not tables, grids basically, where you've got a drop down, you've got a checkbox, you've got a radio button and things like that.
Exactly. So
can happen.
So there is the app that I'm actually implementing at an apparel manufacturing company. The app is called Grid, right? It's solving for that exact same thing, which is every field can have like all kinds of customization functional, set. If let's say the order is $100,000 or $100,000 or more, you need certain kind of signatures. Things like that can be built in automatically.
And what's the time frame to build Like, I know that
so complexity obviously depends on complexity, but the way to do this is these are generally 6 months, 8 months long project if you were to go do a proper software, right?
Right.
But the idea here is launch something in 2 weeks so that one function is being automated, and then start building from there.
Is
right?
that where you come in, Siddharth? You and Sahil come in?
I mean, we've not done it professionally. We've done it for friends and family. We've not done the implementations ever because we have our full-time sort of jobs that we full-time businesses to run. So
are there consultants who do this?
It's
I'm not an IT guy. I'm a logistics guy.
Yeah, so that's where it gets slightly tricky, is because it's such a new industry. The consultants haven't happened yet, but freelancers definitely have happened, right? Where they'll help you develop the systems, but you'll still have to do the front ending from a business perspective. Like, this is what I want.
But this is also something that we can definitely explore and we can have a conversation about.
I've filled up the form, Sahil. So I would love to connect.
Okay, I think we should have added a remarks column, but
we'll
definitely connect with everybody.
I've added a field on what are you looking to use no code for. You can
I've given my comment to that as well.
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions?
My question to Sahil is, Sahil, I am building a software for my own purpose, but now I feel that it has a potential where it can be sold. So would a no code help to reach to such a level where this can become a sellable tool?
What is the software that you're building?
So this is a signage software. It solves various problems like creating presentations, generates Excel or Google Sheets, and it helps clients to approve those Reikis, the designs. Approval is happening online.
So I'll give you an example. Recently, we interviewed a guy who built his own chain of hotels. It's called Octave Hotels. He has like 30 plus hotels in Bangalore. And in order to solve a problem that he was having in his hotel, he built a software. Because he was having that problem in his own company, he built that software for himself. Then he realized that his other friends in other hotels were also having the same issue. So then he just started selling the software to his friends. And then that became something, it's almost $1 million business now, right, Siddharth? Or they're doing $500,000 of revenue from that software, because he built that software to solve it for himself. He realized that other people have the same issue.
So can a sellable software be built on a no-code platform?
There are examples. There's a software called copy.ai, where it was built entirely on no code. It was used, the base of it, the foundation of it was something called GPT-3. And they built it entirely on that. I won't go into what it is exactly, etc. But now they're doing millions of dollars of revenue, and they got a bunch of funding, etc., etc.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So it can be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
If there are no questions, we create a lot of content at the Indian Dream around podcasts, newsletters. We host founders. We talk about new business trends, ideas, a lot of things. And the focus is to help knowledge-seeking entrepreneurs build profitable businesses. If you're curious about what we do, I've put a link in the chat, which is a link to our WhatsApp group. So no spam. We just send summaries of the content that we create. So if you're curious, you can join that.
Also, one more thing. We're also looking to interview more founders. So if anybody wants to be interviewed by us, please let us know, because we're looking to interview more founders, and we're specifically looking at the SME segment. So please send us a message, and we'd love to interview you. Okay, then.
Thank you. We did not get the link of the WhatsApp group.
I'll send it again.
It's right there. Yeah, he sent it again.
Perfect.
Okay, then we'll close the meeting. Thanks, Bhavan. Thanks everybody who joined today. And yeah, hope have a great day.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Thank you. It was beautiful and learning session. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.